Good morning, class. I want to talk a little bit about our thinking strategies because we've been talking about them for a while and we haven't hit all of them. We've hit some of the big ones that I really wanted to, some ones I felt like you needed some time to practice and work with. Um, but remember, we're always monitoring for meaning, for comprehension, trying to figure out like what makes sense. Does it make sense? Checking that we understand. That's that monitoring for meaning piece. We're always looking at our sensory images and evoking those. Um, which is our senses and our emotions as well. It's not just a movie in your mind. You have to get out of that realm because sometimes authors take away the visual component on purpose. Um, we're determining what's most important always, figuring out what we need to say and what we need to do and why we need to do that. We're inferring, we're using our schema, we're asking questions, and we are synthesizing that information into new ideas. So, I want to talk a little bit though about approaching books because when we use these thinking strategies, it's good to notice them and see how they're coming up. That's how you explore them. Ultimately, though, we want to be able to use these as tools that we deliberately use when we approach a text. I mentioned on the assignment, you guys saw craftsmen use tools. They don't just notice what tools they use. And thinking strategy is the same way. They're meant the reason I teach that to you is so that you can use them to think strategically about the things that you're learning and to approach things strategically with a strategy in mind, with purpose, so that you're not just flailing in the dark trying to notice stuff as the problems arise. You're anticipating them. For example, uh, just last night I had to mount a new baby monitor for Adeline in her room. We're gonna put it on the wall. So as I looked through, I was kind of there were things I knew I needed. I knew that I needed a drill and that a screwdriver wasn't going to do it. I knew that I needed a Phillips head screwdriver because I was looking at the screws. Um, I also knew that I would need a level. I knew that I need a tape measure. I knew what tools I needed and I brought them with me. I didn't bring all my tools with me, or they may have all been in my toolbox I just brought up. I didn't need to use all of them as strictly. Now I could have, but it wouldn't have been as effective, right? Hammering in a nail with this would not have been effective as screwing it into the wall. We approach problems in our learning the same way. We approach our learning the same way. We need to understand how we approach with the tool, like the strategy that we're going to be using, rather than just noticing when it pops up. Because if you're always just noticing when it pops up, you're not really thinking strategically toward that issue. So I want to talk about a book that I've been reading. I just started it. I heard it was really good. It's called Man Called O. It's a really interesting novel. And because it's a novel, um, I'm not approaching thinking about all of the background schema that I have right before it. So if I was going to go into like a historical fiction or a nonfiction book, I would be accessing my schema first thing. I know that's a tool that I need to have. With a novel, I know that schema is going to be given to me. It's going to be a lot of text schema kind of right off the bat. And they're going to be evoking my schema through the sensory images so I learn about Ove. So I'm not going to come in and just be like, oh, what schema do I have about Ove? I have none. Obviously, I have no idea who this guy is. I don't really know what the book is about. Um, so how can I access my schema? Right? I do know there's certain things about the genre, like, and that's why I know, because I have schema on the novel, I know that I need to kind of go in and know that I'm going to learn within the first few pages. I'm going to gain schema on Ove and who he is. So I'm kind of putting that, not that I won't be using it, but I'm going to turn the volume down on that strategy. Now, strategy I really want to turn up right off the bat is I want to turn up evoking my sensory images. So the first thing I do when I come in is look at my sensory images. And what you'll notice, the reason I'm thinking about this, I'm going to jump around in this book just a little bit. I'm going to share my screen with you guys now. So as I'm going through, this is how I'm documenting what I need. I already read a little bit. I already have a little bit of a summary, but this is kind of the stuff that I did. And I want you guys to see how I gathered this. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create just like kind of a T chart in here. little table where I'm looking at the strategy and then my thoughts on it. So the first strategy I know that I'm going to need to like think about right now, I'm really wanting to think about my sensory images. I have some questions that go with that. So I've already used sensory images. Oh, I use some questioning too. A sensory image is going to be my main one, right? I'm using that questioning to build up that sensory images. But this is kind of what I'm thinking about with those sensory images. Here's what I discovered. First paragraph, they really did it. Ove is 59. Ove is 59. Well, if Ove is 59, I'm going to infer a little bit with that strategy too. Ove is 59. I might kind of imagine a man, wrinkles, maybe like kind of like the droopy cheeks, the jowls going on. Maybe, I don't know why, like graying hair. For some reason, I think he has a full head of hair, but that's just kind of that idea, that graying hair, old, heavy wool clothes. I'm kind of using my schema from like my grandparents or like even my parents now because they're older, and like kind of the things that they wear. I'm like, oh yeah, they're always wearing like jeans or like older clothes, things like that, right? So I kind of am building the sensory image of Ove. I don't know what he's like yet, but I kind of am thinking about what he might look like. And obviously, the author doesn't want to give me a lot. The author right now is just saying he's 59 and letting my imagination, letting that schema just kind of inferring just occur. So I'm already even getting a little bit of idea of what this author does. I'm going to keep reading. He drives a Saab. He's the kind of man who points at people he doesn't like the look of, as if they were burglars and his forefinger a policeman's flashlight. He stands at the counter of a shop where owners of Japanese cars come to purchase white cables. Ove eyes the sales assistant for a long time before shaking a medium-sized white box at him. So this is one of those O-pads, is it? He demands. The assistant, a young man with a single-digit body mass index, looks ill at ease. He visibly struggles to control his urge to snatch the box out of Ove's hands. Yes, exactly, an iPad. Do you think you could stop shaking it like that? Okay. So now I have this sensory image. It was a grumpy old man who doesn't trust anyone, looks down on everyone. So I'm building this sensory image of Ove. Now, here's what's great. This is now becoming schema for me because I'm going to use this sensory image of Ove as schema to help shape who he is in the next, for all of the next times I read. And I can use it to infer, I can use it to question, all those different things. So I'm going to pick out a new strategy. I want to think about, I'm really going to think about how I'm using my questioning. Because right now I want to know, how might Ove change throughout the book? Why does he need a computer? Still not really sure who Ove is, why he so grumpy. So questioning kind of popped up here. And it kind of popped up to drive some of my other tools. So I'm going to start thinking of some other things that go along with that. But right now, when I looked at my book, do you guys notice how I started off with this strategy and I just really focused on it as I read? The next strategy, questioning, kind of approached as I started finishing up my reading. I kind of started saying, okay, well, now I have these questions. So here's what's going to happen. That's really great. You're going to see tomorrow, I'm going to do another lesson. You're going to see how these questions are going to drive what strategies I focus on tomorrow as I keep reading. So I want you guys to do that today. Choose what strategy you're going to kind of focus on as you go through. Be purposeful with it. Why do you need that strategy? I wanted sensory images because I've got nothing on this book. I chose sensory images. Maybe if you've been reading a while, you've developed some questions about it. Maybe you're going to be doing some inferring. Maybe you're going to be doing some synthesis, kind of developing bigger ideas over time. Maybe you're going to be looking at things in a different way. So tomorrow you'll see what thinking strategies I'm going to be using. I'm thinking tomorrow, based on these questions, I might need to do some synthesis and some inferring. And I might even build out my synthesis block to see, okay, how are my ideas changing over time, just so I have those looking at it. So today, your responsibilities, so we're all very clear, I want you all, if we go into our readers workshop, you're going to read for 45 minutes and you're going to respond for 15. I want you guys to make a notice. What strategies do you know you're going to need to rely on in your book? It might be a few. It might just be one. It might be 2 or 3. You might say, I really need a question today. I really need to infer. Okay. How will they help you? I want you writing about that. What strategies are you going to employ further? How am I using another strategy to switch things up? What did you learn from this? That's something I want you to be working with. Did you use the right strategies? Maybe you turned up a strategy that didn't help you. Those are all things to mull over and to respond to in 2 to 3 paragraphs at the end of your work. Happy reading. I hope you guys do well and that you discover something new about yourselves as readers. All right. Thank you, everybody.